Aiden Ward had always believed that the quiet nights on the outer colony defense ring were the safest moments of his duty. The stars looked peaceful from the observation deck, and the silence felt endless. Most officers complained that the shift was boring, but Aiden liked the calm. He liked the idea that Earth had finally entered an age where danger felt far away. After years of training, drills, and alarms that led nowhere, he had grown used to the routine. He believed nothing unexpected would ever happen so far from the busy core worlds. He was wrong. The night everything changed began like any other. Aiden checked the monitors, reviewed system logs, and sent status updates to Earth Command. The base lights dimmed their usual night cycle glow. A soft hum filled the quiet hallways. Everything was normal. But then, at exactly 1:47 station time, the long-range radar screen flickered. Aiden frowned at the display. Usually, it picked up nothing but dust trails, passing debris, or slow-moving cargo drones. This time, however, the signal was different. It was sharp, fast, and burned bright red on the screen, as if something had torn straight through the sector without warning. The system flashed an alert he had never seen before. An unidentified object had entered the moon's lower orbit and was falling fast. A crash trajectory. Aiden's heartbeat quickened. He ran a full scan, but the object was already heading toward the moon's dark side, the abandoned mining region that no human had visited in years. The outpost drones did not pick it up. The sensors struggled to hold the signature. Whatever it was small, fast, and out of control. He hesitated for only a moment. The standard procedure was to report it and wait for clearance. But waiting meant losing precious time. If it was a lost shuttle or cargo pod, someone could be injured. If it was something else, then someone needed to investigate. Aiden grabbed his gear, powered up his small patrol craft, and sent a short message to Earth Command in automatic notice. Just enough to say he was checking a crash anomaly. He launched within minutes. The patrol craft glided silently through space. The moon grew larger as he approached the dark side, where old metal mines lay empty and forgotten. Most of the region was covered in deep shadows and broken terrain. Aiden switched to thermal scans, but even those struggled in the cold environment. Then he saw it. A silver streak of metal was half buried in the dust near a jagged ridge. Smoke rose from its surface. The craft was small, too small to be a human escape pod. Its shape was smooth and curved. It's unlike anything built on Earth. Aiden landed his patrol craft nearby and stepped out carefully. The moon's gravity made each step slow and soft. Dust scattered around his boots as he approached the crashed pod. It was still warm. He touched the hull cautiously. The metal was unlike any alloy he had ever seen. It seemed almost organic, faintly glowing under the moonlight. He leaned closer, hearing a soft sound from inside the slow, uneven breathing of someone struggling to stay conscious. Aiden immediately reached for the emergency release panel, but there was no panel. The pod had no seams, no handles, nothing that looked human-made. He circled around until he saw a faint symbol burned into the hole. The moment he touched it, the pod opened with a gentle hiss. Inside was someone he did not expect. A young alien woman lay curled inside the pod. Her skin had a soft silver-blue tone that shimmered under the faint light. Her breathing was weak. Her suit was torn. A small crack ran across the device on her wrist. Her eyes were closed, and her hands shook slightly, as if she had no strength left. Aiden froze for a moment. He had trained for dozens of scenarios, but none prepared him for this. Humanity had never officially met an alien species. For years, Earth believed the galaxy was quiet. Many officers joked that humans were alone, but the woman in front of him proved otherwise. She opened her eyes slowly, and Aiden saw they glowed softly like faint stars. She looked confused, scared, and disoriented. When she tried to speak, only a weak whisper came out. Aiden knelt beside her. "It's okay," he said gently. "You're safe. I'm here to help." She blinked at him, struggling to understand his words. Her voice cracked as she whispered something in her own language, a soft flowing sound he couldn't understand. When she tried to sit up, she winced in pain. Aiden carefully helped her out of the pod, supporting her weight. She was lighter than he expected. As he walked her toward his patrol craft, he noticed she kept looking over her shoulder, as if something in the darkness frightened her. Once inside the ship, Aiden sealed the hatch and began a quick medical scan. The scan could not identify her species, but it confirmed she was exhausted, dehydrated, and injured from the crash. He gave her water and wrapped a thermal blanket around her. She stared at him with cautious eyes, still unsure if she could trust him. Aiden could see fear and worry written across her face. He tried to reassure her with a calm smile. "I won't hurt you," he said softly. "You're safe with me." Slowly, the tension in her shoulders eased. She looked around the small cabin, touched the edge of the blanket, then placed a hand on her chest and spoke one word clearly. "Sarai." Aiden repeated it to show he understood. "Sarai, my name is Aiden." She nodded once, her eyes softening. She seemed grateful, even if she could not fully communicate yet. Aiden secured the ship, lifted off quietly, and headed back toward the outpost. During the flight, Sarai watched him closely. She seemed to study his expressions, his movements, and the way he kept checking her condition every now and then. She glanced nervously toward the window, as if expecting something to appear behind them. Aiden noticed her fear and asked gently, "Is someone after you?" She did not answer, but the fear in her eyes told him enough. Back at the outpost, Aiden helped her inside, guiding her through dim corridors, lit only by emergency strips. He made sure no one else was awake to notice. He led her to an empty maintenance room he rarely used. It was warm, quiet, and safe from the main surveillance cameras. Sarai sat on the cot he prepared for her, her hands trembling slightly. Aiden offered her more water and stayed nearby in case she needed help. She tried to speak again, but the words came out weak and broken. It was clear she wanted to explain something but did not have the strength. Aiden sat a respectful distance away, giving her space while still staying close enough to assist. After a moment, Sarai reached for her wrist device. The screen flickered weakly, showing static patterns that shifted into strange symbols. She touched one of them, and the device projected a faint light into the air. The projection flickered, showing a star map he had never seen before. It blinked in and out, as if the device was damaged. Sarai watched the map with sadness in her eyes, then shut the projection off and held her device close to her chest. Aiden understood that she carried something important, something far bigger than her arrival. As the hours passed, she fell asleep, exhausted from the crash and the long journey. Aiden stayed awake, keeping watch. He couldn't shake the feeling that her arrival was not random. He couldn't ignore the way she kept looking behind her, as if danger was close. When the station's long-range sensors activated again, Aiden checked them quietly so she would not wake. The reading made his breath catch. A faint signal pulsed at the edge of the system. Steady, rhythmic, searching, not drifting. Not random. Searching, Aiden stared at the screen, then glanced at Sarai sleeping peacefully under the thermal blanket. He understood now why she had looked so afraid. Whoever she escaped from had followed her across the stars, and they were getting closer. Aiden turned off the screen quietly and whispered to himself, "You're not alone anymore, Sarai. Whatever's coming, I won't let it reach you." But deep inside, he knew the peaceful age he once believed in was gone forever. Aiden barely slept. Even after Sarai had drifted into a deep, exhausted rest, he kept checking the long-range sensors every few minutes. Each time, the same faint signal blinked at the edge of the system. It pulsed like a heartbeat, steady, patient, and impossible to ignore. Something out there was searching, and Aiden was certain it wasn't friendly. When morning cycle lights brightened the corridors, Sarai woke slowly. She looked confused at first, as if unsure where she was. Then she remembered the crash, remembered Aiden helping her, and her shoulders relaxed slightly. But when she saw the worry in his eyes, she knew something had changed. Aiden didn't want to frighten her, so he spoke gently. "The sensors picked up something last night," he said. "A signal. It looks like someone is looking for you." Sarai's expression changed immediately. Fear returned to her eyes, the same fear he had seen at the crash site. She touched her wrist device quickly, but it only flickered. The damage from the crash made it nearly useless. Aiden sat beside her, but kept a respectful distance. "Sarai," he said slowly, "I want to help you. But I need to understand what's happening." She swallowed softly, her fingers gripping the blanket. She wanted to speak. He could see the struggle in her eyes. Words came to her lips, but she didn't know enough of his language. So instead, she reached out and gently touched his hand. Aiden stayed perfectly still. Letting her take her time, her wrist device flickered again. She pressed a sequence of symbols, and the device projected a faint light into the air. This time the projection was clearer. A circular symbol appeared first, glowing softly. Then lines spread outward like branches of a tree. These lines connected star systems, forming a map of places Aiden had never seen before. Sci-Fi pointed at one glowing symbol near the center. "Lumeron," she whispered. Aiden repeated the word gently. "Lumeron. That's your people?" She nodded. Then she pointed at another symbol, a darker, sharp-edged one, and her voice grew quieter. Drax Aiden felt a cold shiver pass through him. Even without understanding everything, the meaning was clear. The glowing symbol was her people. The dark symbol was the threat. Sarai continued adjusting the projection. A series of small dots appeared, showing travel paths. Aiden watched carefully as she pointed to one route that ended near Earth's region of space. It was the path she had taken. The line ended abruptly, marked by a bright flash or crash. Then she pointed at another route. That line was moving, slowly, steadily, straight toward Earth's system. Aiden looked at her and she nodded sadly. "The Drax?" Aiden asked. She nodded again. Aiden breathed slowly, trying to stay calm. He looked back at the projection. "Sci-Fi, what do they want?" She hesitated for a long time. Her fingers moved across the device again, but the projection flickered as if struggling to stay stable. A shape formed, a glowing, crystal-like object. It rotated in the air, showing its smooth edges and inner lights. Sarai placed her hand on her chest, then slowly pulled it away as if showing something hidden inside her. She tapped the projection of the crystal. Aiden understood. "You have something they're looking for." She nodded, pressing her hand over her heart again. She carried something inside her suit, something important enough to cross the galaxy for, and important enough for a dangerous enemy to chase her. Aiden tried to understand. Is it information? A message? Technology? Sci-Fi struggled again to find the right words. She gestured slowly in the air, forming shapes with her hands as if illustrating something huge, something ancient. Then she tapped the star map. Pointing at several systems with glowing dots, she looked at Aiden. "History," she said softly. Aiden blinked. "You carry your people's history." She nodded with a sad look. She pressed her wrist device again, and for a moment the projection changed. It showed tall structures, floating gardens, shining cities that stretched across clouds. Aiden watched in awe. Her people, the Lumerans, lived in beautiful places, full of light and peace. But then the projection shook, flickered, and changed again. This time, the cities were burning. Light turned to darkness. Shapes moved through the shadows. Sarai flinched and stopped the projection. Aiden did not push her for more. He let her breathe. She looked at him again, her voice soft and filled with emotion. "Lost," she whispered. Aiden understood she meant her people. Their civilization had fallen. Something terrible had happened, and the Drax were involved. But Sci-Fi carried a piece of her people's past, something valuable, something dangerous. And now she was being hunted. Aiden took a slow breath. "Thank you," he said gently. "For trusting me?" Her eyes softened. She reached out again and lightly touched his sleeve, showing she appreciated his patience. But their moment of peace ended when the outpost alarm suddenly beeped. Not an emergency alarm, not a danger alert. It was a simple communication ping Earth command, calling Aiden for a routine status check. The message repeated calmly. "Officer Ward, update required. Respond." Aiden froze. If he responded normally, Earth Command would expect to see camera feeds from his outpost. They would notice the hidden room's heat signature. They would notice the patrol craft leaving at night. They might even send a ship to investigate. Scifi saw the tension on his face and stood up weakly, placing her hand on his arm. Her eyes searched his, asking a silent question. "What will you do?" Aiden inhaled deeply. "I'm not turning you in," he whispered. "But I need to hide you better." He quickly disabled the room's secondary sensors and covered the small vent with a thermal cloth. Then he helped Scifi move behind a tall stack of unused supply crates. It wasn't perfect, but it would give her extra protection. When he finally answered Earth Command, he kept his voice calm. "All quiet on the outpost," he reported. "Minor equipment maintenance in progress? No issues." Command accepted the message and cut the line. Aiden released a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. Sarai looked relieved, but her relief didn't last long. The moment Aiden checked the sensor screen again, the faint, distant signal pulsed brighter than before. It was closer. Much closer. Aiden's worry grew into something heavier. "They're speeding up," he said quietly. Sarai walked closer to the projection from her wrist device. She touched it again, and this time the map zoomed in on her location. A thin red line extended from the Drax route directly toward Earth's orbit. They were following her energy trail. They were following the memory core she carried. Aiden suddenly understood another detail he hadn't considered before. "You didn't come here by chance," he said. "You came because Earth is far from the main routes. You thought it was safe?" Sarai nodded, guilt filling her eyes. "But you didn't expect them to track you," Aiden added softly. Her eyes lowered to the floor. She whispered something he didn't understand, but the sadness in her tone said enough. She felt responsible for bringing danger to Earth's doorstep. Aiden stepped closer, speaking gently. "This isn't your fault. You were running for your life. Anyone would." Sarai's eyes glimmered softly, touched by his words. For a moment, the fear inside her eased, but then the ground trembled slightly, not from an attack, but from a small shockwave outside the base. Aiden checked the monitors and saw dust rising on the moon's surface. A scout drone had entered the region, and it wasn't human. Sir gasped and pressed herself against the wall. Her wrist device flickered with an alert showing a symbol she clearly recognized. Her breathing grew rapid. Aiden held her shoulders gently, steadying her. "It's okay," he whispered. "We'll get through this." But deep inside, he knew things were escalating quickly. The Drax were no longer searching from afar. They had entered the system. Now, hiding was no longer enough. Protecting Sarai meant facing whatever danger followed. Harand Aiden knew he wouldn't let her face it alone. Aiden had always thought of danger as something distant, something that happened to other officers or in other sectors. But now danger stood right outside his small outpost in the form of an unknown scout drone. It hovered low over the moon's surface, scanning the rocks and dust as if smelling the air for something hidden beneath it. Its movements were slow, careful, almost like a creature hunting for prey. Sarai watched the drone through the screen with fear rising in her eyes. She held her damaged wrist device close to her chest, as if it could protect her. Aiden stood beside her, trying to appear calm. Inside, however, his thoughts churned. If the drone found them, more would follow. And after the drones, the Drax themselves would arrive. Aiden turned away from the window and faced Sarai. "We can't stay here," he said softly. "They're searching the surface. They'll find the crash site. They'll track your energy signature. We need to move." Sarai nodded, though her hands trembled slightly. She trusted Aiden, and he felt the weight of that trust. It pushed him to think clearly, to protect her even when fear knocked at the edges of his mind. He gathered rations, a med pack, and a portable shield device. Sarai tried to help, but her body was still weak from the crash. Aiden gently placed a hand on her arm, guiding her to sit for a moment. "Save your strength," he said. "I'll handle this." She gave him a small, grateful look, then gathered the strength to stand again. She didn't want to be a burden. Aiden checked the security system one more time before he led her toward the maintenance exit, the one he had never used before. It opened into a long, narrow tunnel, that extended beneath the moon's surface. Few people knew about it, but Aiden had studied every map of the outpost during training. He knew it led to an old network of abandoned mining tunnels, dark, deep, and forgotten, perfect for hiding. As they walked into the tunnel, Sarai looked around with curiosity and a hint of worry. The metallic walls echoed their footsteps softly. Blue emergency lights glowed faintly, guiding the way. Aiden walked ahead, scanning for any signs of trouble. Sarai followed closely, staying so near he could feel the nervous energy in her steps. When they reached the mining sectors, the environment changed. The smooth metal walls turned into rough stone. Old tracks covered the ground, rusted from years of silence. Their breath made small clouds in the cold air. Aiden switched on a small lantern, and the warm light illuminated the wide cavern around them. Sarai paused at the entrance, looking uneasy. "Dark," she whispered. "It's safe," Aiden replied gently. "And it's the only place they won't scan." She nodded slowly and stepped inside. They walked deeper into the tunnels for nearly an hour. Aiden kept checking his portable scanner, making sure no drones followed them. Sarai occasionally touched the rocky walls, feeling the strange texture of this human-made world. Her eyes reflected the lantern's light, almost glowing in the dimness. After some time, they reached a wide chamber where old mining machines stood like sleeping giants. Dust covered them, and silence filled the air. Aiden set up a small portable heater to give them warmth. Sarai sat near it, wrapping her arms around herself. Aiden sat down beside her, keeping a little distance to give her space. He looked at her carefully, trying to understand her thoughts. She seemed lost in memories, her gaze distant but soft. After a long silence, she finally spoke. "Aiden." Her voice shook slightly, but she continued, "I must explain." Aiden nodded. "I'm listening." She touched her wrist device again, and this time the projection appeared much clearer. A small, glowing crystal shape floated above her hand. The light shimmered softly. "This," she said, pointing at it. "Memory core." Aiden leaned forward. "What does it hold?" She drew a slow breath. "Our past, our knowledge, our truth. Everything my people saved." Aiden listened quietly. Sarai continued, her voice gentler now. "Long ago, Lumerans were peaceful. We built harmony. We traveled stars without war. We shared knowledge. But then the Dracs came." She paused, searching for simple words. They wanted power. They took worlds. They destroyed many things. Aiden understood the meaning behind her pauses. Her people were not warriors. They were builders, thinkers, dreamers. The Dracs were the opposite, Sarai continued. "My ancestors hid memory cores. Few remained. I was chosen to protect one. Only few could carry it. Safely." Aiden's eyes widened slightly. "Why you?" Sarai looked down at her hands. "Because I have the gift. I can connect with Lumeran energy. Only some are born with it." Her voice softened. "But gift brings danger. Dracs seek those with power. They want what we remember, so they can control more." Her explanation made Aiden understand even more. She wasn't just a visitor or a refugee. She carried a piece of her people's soul. "And when your ship was attacked," Aiden said slowly, "you escaped with the core." Sarai nodded. "I hoped to hide far. Far away, your world was outside their path. Quiet. Safe." A small sadness entered her voice. "I did not want to bring danger here." Aiden shook his head gently. "You didn't bring danger. They chased you." "That's not your fault." She looked at him, a soft gratitude in her eyes. For a moment, the fear between them eased. They sat together in the quiet mining chamber. Two different beings from two different worlds, yet sharing the same space with the same purpose: survival. The peace didn't last long. Aiden's scanner beeped suddenly, but the sound was faint. He picked it up quickly. A new signal had appeared, not above the surface, but under it. Something was moving through the deeper parts of the tunnel system. Sarai leaned closer, sensing the tension. Aiden frowned. "It's not human," he whispered. The frequency is different. Sarai's breath caught. Drax Scout? Aiden shook his head. Not exactly. Something smaller, but definitely following your energy trace. Sarai's wrist device flickered again. She tapped it quickly, and it projected a faint symbolon, ancient Lumeron marking of warning. She looked at Aiden with worry. They have machines too, she explained softly. Small ones. Fast. They read energy. Aiden understood immediately. The drone outside was only the beginning. The Drax had sent ground scouts. They were searching not only the surface, but every underground path. Aiden didn't waste a second. He stood up and helped Sci-Fi to her feet. We need to move, he said firmly. Now, they left the chamber and continued down the tunnels. The air grew colder again. The paths narrowed. Some passages twisted like a maze. But Aiden kept going, driven by instinct and determination. Sci-Fi followed close behind, trusting him completely. After a long walk, they reached a carved stone wall that looked different from the rest of the mine. It was smoother, older, and covered with faint glowing patterns Sci-Fi recognized immediately. She stepped forward, touching the stone gently. Her eyes widened. She whispered something in her language, a soft sound filled with wonder. Aiden watched her closely. Do you know this place? Sci-Fi nodded slowly. This is not human. Aiden felt his heart stop for a moment. Not human? She shook her head. Lumeron. Aiden stared at the wall, trying to understand. The patterns glowed slightly under Sci-Fi's touch, as if responding to her presence. She stepped closer, placing her hand over one of the symbols. The stone shifted silently, revealing an entryway hidden for ages. Aiden was shocked. This was under our outpost all along? Yes, Sci-Fi whispered. My people traveled long ago. We hid parts of our past on distant worlds. We planted energy nodes. Not weapons. Not war machines. But protectors. Aiden stepped inside with her. The chamber inside was small, but filled with soft blue light. In the center stood a floating crystal structure. Shaped like the memory core Sci-Fi, carried only larger, ancient, and deeply rooted into the chamber walls. Sci-Fi approached it slowly, tears forming in her eyes. A beacon, she whispered. Lumeron beacon. Aiden watched in awe as the beacon responded to her presence. Light pulsed gently from its center, warming the room. The air vibrated softly, as if welcoming its own. Sci-Fi placed her hand on the beacon. For a moment, she looked peaceful, comforted. But then her face changed. The beacon showed her something. A warning. A vision, she gasped, turning toward Aiden with deep fear. Aiden, she whispered shakily. The Drax are near? Very near? At that exact moment, the scanner beeped loudly. Aiden checked it and felt his stomach sink. Multiple signatures. Moving fast, heading for the beacon. Chamber. Aiden looked at Sci-Fi. They've found us. Sci-Fi took a step closer to him. Her eyes wide, but not with weakness anymore. There was a new strength in her gaze, of determination shaped by fear, hope, and the instinct to protect. Aiden tightened his grip on his lantern. We'll face this together, but inside, he understood the truth. The hiding part was over. Now came the fight to protect the beacon, protect Sci-Fi, and protect Earth from what was coming next. Aiden had never felt time move so quickly. The scanner beeped again, sharper this time, showing several moving signatures heading directly toward the hidden Lumeron chamber. Sci-Fi stood beside the ancient beacon, her hands still resting against the glowing crystal. The soft blue light reflected on her face, mixing fear with something deeper, something like responsibility. Aiden stepped closer to her. We don't have long, he said gently. We need to decide what to do. Sci-Fi looked at the beacon, then back at Aiden. The beacon can help, she whispered. But I must activate it. Only someone with Lumeron energy can. Aiden looked at the crystal structure, watching how it pulsed like a quiet heartbeat. What happens when you activate it? He asked softly. Sci-Fi hesitated. Her fingers trembled slightly. It will send a signal, a strong one. It can protect this world, stop the Drax machines. Weaken their ships. She paused, her voice becoming softer. But it needs energy. A lot of energy. Aiden felt a small knot form in his chest. He realized she didn't want to say the rest. Sci-Fi, he said gently, tell me. How much energy? She looked down, her expression filled with worry. It will take from me, she whispered. Not forever. But it will drain my strength. I may collapse. I may sleep for a long time. It depends on how strong the Drax presence is. Adon shook his head slowly. You don't have to do this alone. Sci-Fi looked at him with gentle eyes, touched by his words. You helped me when you did not know me. You kept me safe. You are loyal. But this is my duty. My people left these beacons to protect worlds. If I run again, the Drax will keep chasing. Earth will not be safe. Aiden thought for a moment. He knew she was right. If they did nothing, the Drax scouts would find the chamber, track the beacon, and lead the main fleet straight to Earth. Even if Earth's defenses were strong, they had never faced anything like this. Humanity would be caught unprepared. He took a quiet breath. If you activate the beacon, will it be enough? Sci-Fi looked at the glowing crystal. Yes, she said softly. The beacon can surround this world with a protective field. It can hide Earth from their sensors. It can make the Drax fleet lose power. But only if the activation completes fully. Aiden nodded. Then we'll make sure it does. Sarai's eyes softened with gratitude. She stepped toward the center platform, where the beacon's energy lines curved like delicate branches. Aiden stood near the entrance, ready to protect her from anything that tried to approach. The beacon reacted the moment Sci-Fi raised her hands toward it. The blue light brightened, becoming almost white. A gentle hum filled the chamber. Energy lines pulsed through the air, surrounding Sci-Fi like flowing silk. Her eyes closed as she connected with the beacon. Letting her own energy merge with the ancient Lumeran technology, Aiden watched with awe. She looked almost weightless, as if the beacon lifted her with its light. But the calm did not last. The scanner beeped again 3 signatures. It reached the outer walls of the tunnel system. They were getting close. The ground trembled slightly, as if something moved fast across the stone floor. Aiden grabbed his lantern, though it offered no real protection. Still, he refused to leave her. Sci-Fi, he whispered. They're close. She didn't open her eyes. Her voice came out soft and tired. Do not move away. Stay close. The beacon will react to your presence too. Aiden frowned at her words, but stepped closer anyway, standing at the edge of the glowing platform. The moment he entered the energy field, a warm sensation spread through his chest. The beacon's light shifted slightly, forming a second smaller pathway that ran from the center to where he stood. He didn't understand it, but the beacon seemed to accept him. He placed his hand on the glowing surface. It was warm, almost like touching sunlight. The warmth spread through him, calming his heartbeat. Sarai's voice came again, slow and heavy. You have courage and loyalty. The beacon feels it. It helps. It makes activation stronger. Aiden didn't reply. He stayed exactly where he was, keeping his hand on the beacon and his eyes on Sci-Fi. Outside the chamber, sharp clicking sounds echoed through the tunnels. The Drax scouts were close. Aiden couldn't see them yet, but their movements felt mechanical and steady. The air grew colder as they approached. The beacon's hum grew louder, vibrating through the stone walls. Light filled the chamber, glowing brighter around Sci-Fi. Aiden could see her face tighten slightly. Her strength was fading. Sci-Fi, he whispered, stay with me. She nodded, though her eyes remained closed. Almost there. But the danger was no longer far away. The tunnel entrance darkened as shadows moved outside it. A soft whirling sound echoed, followed by a scan beam sweeping the ground. The Drax scouts had arrived. Aiden saw a small mechanical shape pause at the threshold, examining the beacon chamber. Its scanning light touched the walls, the floor. Then Aiden himself. Aiden stood firm. The machine hesitated for a moment, as if unsure how to react to the beacon's energy. Then it turned its sensors towards Sci-Fi. Detecting the Lumeran signal, the machine moved forward. Aiden stepped between it and Sarai instinctively, spreading his arms slightly, though he had no weapon. "You're not getting close," he whispered under his breath. The scout paused again, confused by the energy signals in the room. The beacon responded quickly. Its light pulsed outward in a gentle wave. The wave touched the scout, and sparks of blue energy wrapped around its metal shell. The machine shook, confused, then backed away a few steps. Sarai's voice trembled as she spoke. "The beacon is protecting, but I need more time." Aiden nodded firmly. "You'll have it." He placed his other hand on the beacon. The warmth spread deeper into him. It's almost like the beacon was drawing his steady will and turning it into strength for Sarai. His heartbeat slowed. His fear softened. His thoughts became clear. Another scout appeared at the tunnel entrance. Then a third. They moved cautiously, scanning the chamber as the beacon's energy washed over them. They tried to advance, but slowed each time the beacon released another pulse of light. Aiden watched the energy build around. Sarai. The beacon's core glowed like a small star now. The crystal structure hummed with power, and the air vibrated softly with ancient force. Sarai's voice grew faint. "Aiden, the last seal. I cannot hold it alone." Aiden didn't hesitate. "Tell me what to do." She reached out weakly with one hand. "Place your hand." Here Aiden moved to her side and gently placed his hand on the glowing point she indicated. The beacon reacted instantly. The chamber lit up with white-blue energy. Symbols carved into the walls glowed in patterns. Forming long chains of light that spread across the floor, the seal activated. A wave of light burst outward from the beacon. Passing through stone, dust, and tunnels like a silent wind, the Drac scouts froze as the light engulfed them. Their systems flickered. Their movement slowed. Their scans shut off. They turned powerless and fell still. The beacon's energy continued rising, spreading upward through the tunnels like a rising tide. Aiden could feel the world vibrating around him. Above them, far beyond the surface, the wave reached space. In Earth's orbit, the protective field formed. It shimmered like a soft veil around the planet, hiding Earth's unique energy signature and confusing the Drac's fleet. Their sensors flickered. Their ships slowed. Some engines shut down completely as the beacon's influence disrupted their systems. Aiden held the beacon steady with both hands. Sarai leaned against the crystal, exhausted but smiling softly. "It worked," she whispered. "Earth is safe." Aiden nodded, relief washing over him. "You did it, Sarai." "No," she corrected weakly. "We did." The light in the chamber faded gradually until only soft blue glows remained. The energy field stabilized around Earth, forming a shield that would last for many cycles. Sarai collapsed gently into Aiden's arms, tired but breathing steadily. He held her carefully, supporting her head and keeping her warm. Her eyes fluttered open for a moment. "Aiden," she whispered, "thank you for staying." "Stay as long as you need," he answered softly. She smiled, and her eyes closed peacefully. Not from danger, but from exhaustion. A deep, healing sleep. Aiden carried her out of the beacon's core, knowing Earth owed her more than it could ever repay. And he knew something else too. His loyalty to her had become something stronger. Something that tied their futures together. Above them, the protective shield shimmered over Earth like a silent promise, and deep in the tunnels, the beacon glowed softly, waiting for the day it would be needed again.